1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
When I was a little kid, one of my favorite things to do was to go tubing behind a boat. So you'd hook a tube up to a speedboat. It'd be pulled by the same kind of line you'd have when someone's water skiing. And you'd hit waves, and it'd be fun because you'd roll off the side and hit the water at a fast speed. I just loved tubing. I thought it was a ton of fun. And the older I got and I started to drive the boat, I realized that the goal of the driver of the boat is to dump you off the tube. And the goal of the rider of the tube is to stay on no matter what kind of punishment the driver puts on you. Now, I never let a stranger take me tubing, and I don't believe I ever drove for strangers. So it was always someone who was a friend or family member.
I'm trying to imagine that scenario like, hey, kid.
Hey, you want to go tubing?
You like this boat? Got some candy in this tube?
But
never tube with strangers, JJ.
Never. So, but that's the thing is the point was to inflict not pain, but it's the closest I've ever had to living out Mario Kart is I guess what I'm trying to get at here.
Okay, that makes sense.
And there's very few other things where your whole purpose is to dump somebody off of, whatever they're riding.
Yeah.
You never go push someone off of a motorcycle.
No.
You never want to go and, you got someone who's on a golf cart, and so you ram another golf cart into it.
Sure, but luckily these are not shark-infested waters. These are pike-infested waters and sunfish-infested waters. Like you're not in much danger.
No, except for there's some times where I've had the wind knocked out of me while I'm tubing.
I just realized I'm the wrong person to say there is no danger, because growing up, I've never tubed. I hated the idea of tubing. I hated the idea. And our family has a lake cabin we visit every summer since I was a kid. I probably went on one tubing ride, with an adult and didn't like it. I was not, even though I love going to the lakes, I was not the kid that wanted to be playing in the water. I wanted to be fishing, or I wanted to be reading comic books or drawing superheroes. Like, to me, that's what the lakes are for. You still want to be outside when you're doing it, that fresh lake air, but it was never a time to I'd never wanted to go do that kind of thing. And I still don't. Like, I have all these great feelings you have about tubing. I cannot relate.
I am 100% confident that the reason I'm so strong is from tubing. And you might not look at it from pictures of me, but I'm very strong.
Look
like
at
a
him.
Like a bear.
Look at his arms. He must tube.
Yeah. Bro, I was tubing for 2 hours. Totally ripped my glutes.
Do you even tube, bro?
Where are the glutes? Those aren't.
That's your butt.
Oh, yeah. I did not rip my glutes.
Oh man,
my biceps,
glute.
my glutes, my glutes. I was a member of a gym for a while that had a thing called the lunk alarm, and it was a button on the wall that had a flashing, one of those spinning flashing lights, and if someone was being a lunk, you would hit the button and it would go whoop whoop whoop, and then the light would go off. Now, the definition of a lunk is someone who's lifting weights is like, come on, you can do it, come on, you pansy, yeah, and pretty much they were trying to make the gym suitable for people like myself who went and bought a matching sweatsuit top and bottom to wear specifically for this, and just needed some time on the cardio, maybe an episode of Judge Judy, and you wanted to lift weights, but you weren't lifting a ton of weight.
That's probably what that Pilates class needed to have when we walked in, was a lunk alarm.
People have asked us, could you please shed some light on this Pilates class that you and Tucker took? Because we've referenced it in several podcasts. And the long story short, Tucker and I, did we both have a YMCA membership?
We got it at the same time.
Yeah,
because we both decided, hey, it's time to get in shape.
Mm-hmm. And this is probably pretty close to the same time that we were living in Tucker's dad's house together, and he had 2 couches that faced away from each other, and we turned them towards the television, watched Pulp Fiction, and ordered pizza from 2 different pizza places.
And had a competition on which one would get there first.
Yeah.
So I think the next day we were like, we should probably balance this out a bit.
Yeah. So we go to this Pilates class at our local YMCA, thinking that there's a lot of people doing it these days.
Yeah.
Plus, it might be a good place to meet some ladies.
Good for your core.
Yeah.
I don't remember the ladies' talk, but it was probably
well, that's what I was thinking.
Below the surface, we both were maybe thinking it.
So we take a midday Pilates course, and it's mainly retired women.
Which we showed up late to.
Yeah, we did show up late. And they looked at us like, are you looking for the spin class? And we're like, no, we're here for Pilates.
No, I think they were like, this isn't Arby's.
Is it Arby's?
That's what I think they were thinking.
Actually, I hope that there was one who was like, fresh meat. Look, that's big beef and that's cheddar. So we do this class, and we are both completely unprepared for the level of intensity and sweat that we were about to muster.
No clue. We had no clue how weak we were, just in general.
Yeah.
We thought, we're guys, we're young, we're pliable. No, we're not.
No, it was horrible. It was the worst. In fact, it was maybe the worst decision I've ever made.
I don't think I've
regarding
ever
fitness
walked out of a YMCA as quickly as I did after that Pilates class.
I don't remember us even changing. We were just like,
beep. The feeling, it was shame. Because we walked in there, and first, it was all women, and they looked at us like, what are you doing here? And then I kind of felt like shit. Like, do they feel like we're kind of encroaching on their thing? Like, we're the only dudes here. We're probably younger than everyone by at least 10, 15 years.
That is a very,
so like did they feel like
conservative guess?
Did they feel like, come on, guys, do we really need, we have to see dudes like you in like every other part of our lives. Do you have to be in this Pilates class as well? I kind of felt like that when we walked in. And then they were all incredibly physically fit and we weren't. And I just felt like super small, like, like I was in elementary school when we had gym class. I'm pretty certain I never did a pull-up. And they would do that test, right, where you have to see whatever, and I would get a 0 on pull-ups every time because I'm not a strong dude.
You never got yourself a presidential fitness award?
Nope. Oh, goodness, no.
I did.
In fact, I bet I have a demerit. Yeah.
You got the one and only demerit that Fargo Public Schools handed out for gym.
The president said, give up, kid. That's what happened.
When I was a kid, I was really good at 3 things that were part of the Presidential Fitness Challenge. Number 1, I could do a pull-up, so bully to me. Number 2, I was great at the sit and reach. I was so good at the sit and reach.
Yeah,
my God. In fact, I want to know if they use the same old boxes that gave me splinters.
I bet they do.
And number 3, I was good at the 9-minute run because I figured out a way to cheat at it.
What'd you do?
They would buddy us up, and so the buddy would count the number of laps, right? And so
you'd make a deal.
I'd make a deal and be like, listen, you pad mine by 2, I'm going to pad yours by 2. And then at one point, I think my elementary school gym teacher got wise and said, okay, now what's going to happen is every time you run by, I'm going to give you a popsicle stick. And then at the end, you count your popsicle sticks. And so that way all the kids can run at the same time. Well, here's how I did that. He hands the popsicle sticks, but I would immediately, the second it was done, I would go and I would turn in my popsicle sticks to the popsicle stick bucket. And he'd be like, JJ, how many have? I'm like, oh, I already put them in the bucket. Well, how many did you have? 12. And then he'd look at me, but he'd have no way of really telling. I'm lucky that there was never a time that Mr. Smith, who was my gym teacher in elementary school, ever said, all right, everyone, you're going to go play kickball while I'm going to watch JJ run 12 laps and see if he can do it in 9 minutes.
My elementary school was Horseman Elementary. And shout out to the Horseman Hornets. my peeps.
I was Claire Barton Roadrunners.
Yeah.
So we used the Roadrunner cartoon.
Yeah.
Which definitely infringed on copyright.
Yeah, ours was just a bee.
Just a bee?
Yeah, or a hornet.
Wasn't even a hornet?
I mean, I couldn't taxonomically say.
You gotta look at the thorax.
Yeah, that's true. But we might have been the only school in the district that had a carpeted gym.
What?
Yeah. So from kindergarten through 6th grade, our gym class took place in a carpeted gym, which was also the lunchroom.
Yo, our gym was also the lunchroom.
Right. Yeah. So
it always smelled like green beans.
Yeah, exactly. And square pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And you would be playing on carpet that kids were dropping milk and stuff on all day. It was so weird.
Well, and how are you supposed to do stuff like if there's carpet on it? Like, how are you supposed to run or play like basketball or dodgeball? Like, was it like carpet burn central?
Yep, you do your best, but you get carpet burns, and it wasn't like shag carpet or something like that. It was like a very short
industrial carpet.
Almost like sandpaper though.
Ugh.
And that it had like the basketball lines painted on it and stuff. I had no idea why anyone at any time frame in era said, yeah, this is what a gym should be. It should be carpeted. But yeah, we had a carpeted gym the whole time. I don't know if Horseman has that carpeted gym anymore. And our gym teacher, we called him Mr. D. And we called him Mr. D because his last name was Dick. And elementary school kids cannot really handle the fact that they know an adult.
Neither could 34-year-old JJ.
Who's named Mr. Dick. Only one teacher I ever heard called him Mr. Dick, but she was one you would never... she was a real battle axe.
What was her name, Mrs. Butt?
I don't want to say her name because I just called her a battle axe.
Okay.
But she was the only one to call him that, and we weren't allowed to call him Mr. Dick. We called him Mr. D.
Mr. D.
Shout out to Mr. D if you're still out there, man.
All right, Big
He was
D.
a great gym teacher.
So was my elementary school gym teacher. He was the first man I knew who had glasses that were tinted.
Ooh.
Tinted glasses.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you hiding behind there?
But he was probably colorblind.
Oh, is that why they have tinted glasses?
A lot of people, when you say tinted, are you talking like a red tint?
No, it's
like a dark, almost like sunglasses?
Yeah, but then it gets lighter as it gets down.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Then
So,
I thought you meant like he was wearing shades indoors all the time.
Oh, no.
He was probably colorblind, but no, never mind.
Interesting. Yeah. Are our guests today colorblind? Is that my transition?
Well, they're graphic designers, so no.
Well, he never. I mean,
one of them designed our logo, and I don't think he was colorblind when he designed the logo. I think he picked a pretty darn good palette.
He sure did. So today we welcome on the Wiedmans, Adam and Shannon. Adam designed our logo. Shannon does a lot of amazing stuff as well in the world of creative business need solving problems and teaches code to women, and not code like spies, but code like for internet. There's a difference because I got all excited being like, she's training sparrows. What? So don't get your hopes up if you're hoping this is the spy themed episode of JJ Meets World. But in fact,
that's coming up.
What's interesting to me about Adam and Shannon, there's the interesting that everyone's looking for there, is that they are a couple who both work in a very similar industry, but they don't need to talk about it all the time. Like, not everything has to be shop talk for them.
Yeah.
And if you're a friend of theirs, apparently they've got, Adam gives away his talent as gifts. Mm-hmm. So we touch on a lot of things in this episode. We talk about web development. We talk about graphic design. We talk about pickles. So you really get a well-rounded podcast with Adam and Shannon Wiedman. I also think that they were both a little hungover when they came in, which makes this all the better when it comes to the nature of this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was. Were you?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Okay. Good. We should have established that right at the beginning. Why did we feel like we needed to be ashamed of it?
No, I love it.
Hungover and proud on this episode of JJ Meets World with Adam and Shannon Wiedman.
JJ Meets World.
If she took your last name, I think it's only appropriate that you take her first name.
Right.
Yeah. Also, because I had a really good last name.
Well, then how are you going to know who the mail is coming to if everyone in the house is Shannon Wiedman?
What? Good call.
Yeah.
Unless you start going by Dr. Shannon Wiedman.
Right.
I cannot remember your maiden name.
Looney?
Looney.
You forgot Looney.
I should remember Looney. Looney is one of those last names that I bet that's not her last name.
Right. But I met her, and it seems fitting.
I bet that's made up.
I almost say like we just keep this going from
Yeah.
here, right? I mean, we've started. We don't need to do a formal.
We're
start
sitting here
now.
with Adam Wiedman and Shannon Wiedman. I'm sorry, we're sitting here with Shannon Wiedman and Shannon Wiedman.
The both of them.
So, let me start out by asking this: when you were designing the JJ Meets World logo, Adam, why did you make me look so fat?
Didn't we just talk about this when the mics were off, actually?
Yeah, that was just to prep you for what was going in. I mean,
This is why we're here.
yeah,
It wasn't so
I
much-
waited till the mic started to really nail it down.
It wasn't so much that your face needed to fill the mic as the mic needed to fill your face. How about that?
You know, I will accept that answer,
Yeah.
and that is just fine. In fact, I really like that. I like one of the things you sent us when you sent us the logo was a gray T-shirt, like a heather colored T-shirt with the logo on it, which I immediately went online and ordered.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so we'll hook you guys up with some of these
Perfect.
sweet T-shirts.
Excellent.
The logo looks great. Thank you very much for being the sponsor of the first 8 podcasts. Unfortunately, you are further down the line from that, so your sponsorship isn't even at the beginning of the podcast you're starring in.
Who's my sponsor? Do I know? It's like it's Alcoholics Anonymous. It's like, who's my sponsor?
I mean, if you want to re-up, we could gladly do that. Patreon.
We swooped in on that Fleshlight company that left Joe Rogan's podcast.
Perfect.
So now we're sponsored by Fleshlights.
Perfect.
So let's get to know you guys
That's
a
not
little
true,
bit.
but if you have a Fleshlight company and you want to sponsor our podcast, please contact JJ.
Wait, are you saying flashlight or fleshlight?
Fleshlight.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
The very first sponsor on the Joe Rogan podcast was a Fleshlight company, and that was actually like the moment in podcasting where people went, "There's sponsorship money for this," and obviously they don't use Fleshlight sponsorship money now. Now it's MeUndies and PostageStamps.com or whatever they else do, but.
If you do run a successful flashlight company, though, and would like to get into the world of podcasting, we
Keep
would gladly
moving.
accept
Keep moving
those
on.
money.
Move
What?
on. We don't want your business here.
You don't want the sweet, sweet flashlight money?
My grandfather was killed by a flashlight when I was a kid.
I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know that. So no wonder you don't like to go outside at night,
Yeah.
poorly lit areas.
Yeah. I hate it when people tell ghost stories.
How come no one's made a dual, like a fleshlight flashlight?
Say that one more time.
A fleshlight flashlight. How come no one's made that yet?
You know, one of the major pornographic websites put out a device that can charge your cell phone that it's like a wristwatch, but it's got magnets in there, and so as you use the up and down motion, the magnets create a charge and you plug that into your cell phone.
I wish this podcast was on video. I wish people could see what Shannon's reactions
Yeah,
are.
she's smiling, but not in like a way that I feel like she's enjoying the
When I
conversation.
said my grandpa got killed by a flashlight, she looked at me like, "Is that true?"
Oh, by the way, I charge my phone jerking off.
And the whole time I'm just sitting here like,
perpetual
what the-
motion machine.
What the shit is a fleshlight? I'm just like, my mind is going all these different places, and
You're unfamiliar with that
That
product?
was my
yeah,
next
what
question.
the shit? I don't know. Is that bad?
No,
It's not bad.
So,
If you don't know what a flashlight is,
Yeah.
no, that's not bad.
Okay.
in fact, there's probably people being like, well, at least there's one smart person in that room.
yeah, and she's blonde, ladies
Yeah.
and gents.
Is that real blonde?
You know, I just got it updated.
Yeah.
The other day, and I do this because when I do, get more blonde, people expect less out of me, and it just seems to work out for me.
That's smart. Smart. I get highlights in my hair.
Oh,
Eh,
like tips?
No, not like the tips. Like
Not
all
just
the way.
the tip, but the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Okay.
Really lightens it up. And I hate when people notice it. I want people to think like, oh, there's his hair. But I don't want them to notice like, you're a couple shades lighter than you were last Friday when you were at work.
Yeah.
Because I always admit like, yes, I highlight my hair. And I also go see a stylist, which is something that I've also been teased about. You don't go see a barber. What kind of a hair person do you see? You've got a cap on right now, Adam. You still have hair under there, right?
There's some, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh,
you have plenty.
look at that.
Oh,
You've
look
got
at
John
it.
Hamm hair.
Dang.
I'm the guy who
okay.
Yeah.
someone looks at me and goes, "Why aren't you wearing a hat?"
Aw.
So what do you do when you get your hair cut? What's
I
your
go
story?
to Everett's.
Oh,
right down the street here.
Get a beer while you're there?
No, I usually go at like 8:20ish. And
so you get a beer while you're there?
I feel I should. Definitely should. No. Yeah, that's a great place to go. It's just a lot of bullshit there. It kind of feels like the old school barbershop-ish. They got TV, they got the magazines.
And you always get a donut after.
And I always get a donut
and
afterwards.
I think they like call your haircut the Wiedman. The Alex or the Adam. Ooh. Right? Because people at my work have been like, they've said that when they go there or something.
Yeah.
You've got a haircut named after you?
It's either me or my brother. We'd have to confer with
I feel
the
like
gals
it's
at
you.
Everett's.
We've had people on this podcast who've been in, major motion pictures, but this is really the celebrity we were aiming for.
Rich Summer does not have a haircut named after him.
No.
Damn well should.
The Harry Crane.
Yeah.
Adam, I want to know, why did you get into the world of being creative?
I don't know if I ever got into it, to be honest with you. It's just kind of always what it was. So like growing up, I didn't know I ever wanted to be a graphic designer. It was just kind of fell into it. Went to school to study advertising. And during our advertising classes, we had this big senior project campaign. And within our group of students, we didn't actually have a graphic designer. So it was more or less a necessity type of thing. It's like, oh, well, I've always been interested in graphic design. I've always been interested in like branding and logos. It's like, wow, let's take a stab at it. And it kind of steamrolled from that. And here I am.
That's pretty awesome.
Keep going, just get tighter in on your microphone.
Yeah.
I'm not picking you up as much. That's because you've got a soft, lower voice.
Make sweet love to it.
I'm going to raise it up a little bit.
Also, it's deceptive because the mic is actually at the bottom. Yeah, there you
we
go. There you go.
One problem with the pop filter is that it hides the microphone. Okay, go ahead. We got everything from that.
Perfect. Yeah.
So when you design a logo, what's the first thing you look for?
What it's going to say to people, essentially.
Yeah.
In the simplest way possible. There's, I don't know, like back in the day when I first realized that I really started like logos and I like branding and stuff, I was a little kid, and I used to go to my grandma's house. She's my babysitter, and like she didn't have anything. She had like a VCR with the Fox and the Hound, and that was it. And like you can only watch that so many times. And then she had like a bunch of old
Oliver and Company at my grandma's house.
Really? And Christmas Story too. I swear to God, I've seen that like 300 times. But like she had like colored pencils and stuff like that, and they were collectors. So like we'd go into the garage, and I'd get like these old oil cans or like grandma's old coffee mugs, and there was all these like really cool, simple old logos on there. And I used to like retrace them and redraw them, and I didn't think anything of it at the time, but I think that's where the big influence comes from, I guess.
I have a very similar story with my grandmother's house. When I was born, she lived in Grandin, North Dakota, and moved, after my grandfather died, moved down to Fargo into a townhouse. And so the only things left over from their little farmstead was the boxes she packed all of the stuff in that she never unpacked when she got to this townhouse. So do you remember Snowboy apples by any chance?
Vaguely,
it's
yeah.
SNOBOY, and their logo looks sort of like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, only without the ribs, and he's got little red earmuffs on. Well, she had like 6 of those boxes, and there was a crawl space underneath her staircase, and that's where I would go and play, and I would talk to the Snowboy Apple logo. And I've never had a Snowboy apple. I don't even know if we have those in our neck of the woods.
Right.
And the company's probably defunct at this point because you don't hear a lot of people being like, "Hey, is that a Snowboy?"
This is making me think of Dutch Master cigar boxes.
Yeah.
Because my grandfather smoked Dutch Masters.
Yeah.
And so they were from the Depression era, my grandparents, so they would keep everything. And so everything we kept was always in these cardboard Dutch Masters boxes. I wish I still had one. I think my mom has a couple of them, but we were just up to our necks in these things, and everyone must have those from their grandparents' house.
I remember there were cigar boxes in my grandparents' house, and there was these like these little Dutch butter cookie tins, like these blue tins, and they were just filled with shit, like paper clips and like receipts from 1942, and but they saved them,
Shannon is also a graphic designer, and I don't want to just call Adam Wiedman the graphic designer because he did our logo and you didn't.
Yeah.
But when I met both of you, we were working at the same marketing agency. You guys weren't hitched yet, and but you were both designers. So is that weird, both being designers? Like, do you not show each other your work because you're afraid the other one's going to have a raw opinion of it?
Well, actually, this is interesting because I remember like years ago, I tweeted something and I said, when I get married, I'm going to marry a web developer so that I can design and they can develop these websites that I'm doing. And then I look at my life now where times have changed and things have flipped. And I'm sort of more of like the web developer now. I don't like branding. I don't like making logos. And like Adam's so amazing at it. Like I look at what he does and I'm just like in awe of it. And like we can critique each other's work of like, hey, what do you think of this logo? And I'll be like, that's cool. Why don't you move it 2 pixels to the left or something, right? You know, something annoying that designers do. But like, I've really gotten into more of the web realm.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but yeah, we're kind of just different types of designers, I guess.
So how does it feel being in a world where you're turning people into products? Because I don't like having my privacy invaded, and I don't like being made to be a fool for falling for a flashy website or a logo. So why are you guys being such dicks like that, huh?
You got to make that money somehow, right?
Hey, good enough answer. Let's move on.
Yep. It's either that or the flashlight prototype.
There's legs there. I mean, let's talk about it after this. TM. One thing that I think is really interesting to me is when you guys sponsored the beginning of the podcast, there's a line where in a world where being visible is so easy, if you don't look good, or if you don't look good,
you look bad.
You look bad. That's it. And that's very interesting because people are designing logos for family reunions and putting them on 100 T-shirts. Mm-hmm. And they're asking for graphic design work for their kids' elementary school carnival. So you're really in a field where people are creating things nonstop. And I'm going to include you in this as well, Shannon, because everyone needs a website for whatever. I mean, if you don't have a website, what are you doing?
Yeah, and if that doesn't look good on mobile.
Yeah, right? What do you got to hide? So do you get what's a weird
I don't
project?
trust anyone who doesn't have a website.
Listen, man, in a couple of years that's what people are going to be saying, okay?
I'm already saying that.
That's why I don't talk to my dad anymore.
I just made my dad a website for his birthday.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
See?
He started pickling. He loves pickling. And so I'm like, hey, Adam made him a logo. He's got logos on his freaking jars. And then I made him a website. He's legit.
Is your dad pickling cucumbers or things beyond cucumbers?
No, just pickles.
Yeah? Okay.
Just cucumbers.
Yeah.
So what
Nothing pickles like a cucumber, I'm telling you.
He's branching into the barbecue sauce game now, though, too. Yeah. Which is a wild card.
So
pickles and barbecue sauce.
Can we get your dad on this? Because I pickle every year too.
Do you?
And I've been dying to make my own barbecue sauce because, especially this year, because I'm beekeeping this year. So I'm going to have this new sugar source that I want to use. And I recently took a class on maple syrup and like actually,
tapping a tree.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm a breath away. So hook me up with that afterwards.
Yes, he
because
would love it.
I do. We pickle for 3 days straight every single August, and we do. Last year we did 62 gallons.
Dang.
Total of pickles. Yeah.
Holy.
So I want to talk to a fellow pickler.
Okay, he would love it.
Now you don't seem overly excited about this. Are you guys like enough with the goddamn pickles?
No,
There's so many
good.
empty jars everywhere in our house. Is empty pickle jars because my dad pickles too.
What?
So it's like we got it coming from both sides all the damn time.
Danny and Donnie.
Yeah, and they both pickle, and our house is the garage is full of empty jars.
They both have
full
logos.
Of empty jars, and then like we want to give them back to my dad to take back home to South Dakota. He's like, "Well, they rattle in the back of the vehicle." I was like, "Well, what the hell am I supposed to do with them?"
I've been really hitting up.
I think he's hoping you're going to pick up the pickling yourself.
Probably, yeah. He's trying to pass the torch subtly, and I'm just like, yeah, I got a pickle supplier.
Pickles have been good to you? They were good to your brother?
Your grandmother made these. Her grandmother made them.
It's funny you say the rattling because I have talked to several people at the Red River Market who do custom knitting about creating what I call pickle pouches. And it's a sleeve that goes over the pickle jar so that if you were to box them together, they wouldn't go tick, 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 tick. And I feel like it would be easy.
It's a real problem.
I think we have some different people with disparate ideas that need to come together. You, the Wiedman's fathers, the folks lovers at the Red River Market.
In fact, both of your fathers drink. They drink a little bit, huh? Have
My dad does.
Drink?
Yeah.
No, Danny doesn't too much.
Donnie likes some White Russian.
He'll have a sip of my beer.
I was thinking like we could call the podcast Pickled.
Ooh.
And we could get pickled while we do it. But
this is going to be my least favorite podcast because I fucking hate pickles.
I know. You're the weirdo.
You hate pickles?
Get out.
I'm not going to leave my own podcast.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, anything
Excuse me,
pickle.
Your own podcast? I don't believe you're on the logo.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Adam.
I had one job.
I believe it was called Tucker Meets World featuring J.J. Gordon.
But you don't fill up a microphone, Tucker. How's he supposed to work your beard into it?
Anything that's pickled, though, nope. No, thank you.
Anything.
I would like to start a business that is able to turn pickles into cucumbers, just to undo the damage that you people have been doing all this time. Pickling things. Yeah.
I kind of want to throw you out that window.
So
I've gained a lot of weight since we last saw, though, so it's not gonna be easy to toss me out.
I've gained a little too there, bud.
I might stick in the frame.
A couple of years ago, we decided we're not just going to pickle cucumbers anymore. And so we've started going to the farmer's market, and we've always done beans, green beans and stuff like that. But the advent of places like Costco have made pickling so much easier. I remember having to peel each piece of garlic back in the day. Yeah. But now you can buy a 2-pound bag of already peeled garlic ready to go. So let's get a little crazy with this. Let's get weird.
Is there any way to pickle something that has already been pickled, like twice-baked potatoes or something?
Oh, absolutely.
Twice pickled pickles?
Twice pickled pickles?
Has anyone pickled a twice-baked potato? I wonder.
This is like some Inception shit here.
Our good friend Bill Stiller says that you can pickle anything. You just need the gumption and the dream. And down at the Fargo Brewing Company's Ale House, you can order their pickle plate, and so you can get. You don't get just like 2 slices of cucumber. You get that, and you get a pickled radish, and then he's got pickled strawberries, which are top notch, which is a sweet pickling process.
Really?
Yeah, I tell you, we're Pickled the Podcast is. You're the odd man out.
That's
on this
the title
one.
of this one, Pickled the Podcast.
I mean, I'm game.
All right, let's reset the course because Tucker, I can see him grimacing quite a bit over there. Shannon, what do you like to do when you're not working or with your husband?
So I actually help run the chapter of Girl Development in Fargo. So I do a lot of teaching of code to ladies in the area. So I really enjoy that. What else do? I sit on the couch. I watch murder mysteries, and I like knit. So this whole pickle jar rattling thing, I feel like I could get into that.
Hey, remember when I asked you to knit a hat for my cat, and then my cat died last fall, and so he'll never wear the hat now?
But also, I never made the hat, and I still feel bad about it, and I knew you were going to bring it up.
I never paid for you, though. I never paid for it.
Paid for you.
Paid.
I never paid for you to make that hat.
For your services, I never paid for it.
Right. So. I wouldn't charge. I honestly don't think I'd charge for a hat for a cat. I was so excited when you asked me to, and then I tried to knit one for Beans to try to get the hat structure. It was bad, and so I think I just stopped.
I don't remember this.
These two are dog owners, and one of their dogs named is Beans.
Yeah.
And I asked Adam if Beans would come, and he said Beans might fart too much.
I can't believe you said that.
Yeah, I didn't tell you about that.
He should be here right now.
He's a farty dog?
He's a farty dog.
Well, just letting you know that this podcast has an open door policy for all things non-human.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
It would have to be open door if he's here.
Couple windows.
We've got a little tiny poodle that when he gets super comfortable and feels safe, he passes gas. Mm-hmm. And my better half, Jill, is very good at creating dog beds anywhere. to the fact of like, I'll say, "Where's my favorite pillow?" It's not yours anymore. It's now the dog's, and I wrapped it in fur, so it's cuddly. And so we'll be sitting there, and the dog weighs George weighs maybe 2 pounds. He is a tiny, small little dog, but the stink that dog creates is ungodly.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
And also, so where does the name Beans come from? Because I've got an idea of where it comes from.
Oddly enough, when we were looking at getting our first dog, which Beans was, we went to, was it the Humane Society? Mm-hmm. And there was a dog there named Beans. And he was a cool little dog. And we're like, well, that's a cool little name, too. And then we didn't get him. And then we adopted Beans through, which agency was it?
Prairie Paws in Jamestown.
Prairie Paws in Jamestown. And we're like, his name was Lucky. And we're like, that's a dumb name for a dog, especially one who's
lucky.
like,
your
you
original
were given
family
away.
got rid of
like,
you.
They didn't love you. It's a terrible
Nobody
name.
loves you. You're not lucky.
Yeah,
you're unlucky.
You're freaking lucky. We're picking you up though.
Right.
That's one thing. But
yeah, so we just started calling him Beans because we thought it was a cool name. Little did we know he smells like shit.
he farts all the time.
All the time.
All
the
His
time.
tagline is Beans, propelled by toots.
Yeah.
Does he eat beans? Can you give dogs beans? Sure. You just can't give them garlic or grapes.
Onions too.
Does he have a
Onions.
logo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I made him a little illustration.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited. I want to see that.
Is a logo your go-to like birthday gift? Like if you
Usually,
know,
yeah. Her dad got the pickle one. Like I made her art prints one year with our dogs on them.
Pins.
I did pins.
Last year, I started a Facebook group called Bratstand Barons of Fargo. And that day that it started, Adam reached out to me. And he's like, "You need a logo." And I was like, "I think we do." And like the next day, we had the most amazing logo for Bratstand Barons of Fargo.
I know.
The local 701. I love that logo.
We gotta make T-shirts for that this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, in my other job as a radio personality, I really would like to invite you to be on my show consistently for that, and so we can talk about like what's the brat update this week. I think that is a brilliant idea.
Yeah, maybe we can get like a live like local at one of the stands, like
at
the Northport Hornbachers here with Dolores.
Dolores has been grilling delicious bratwursts and sausages for the last 25 years.
Dolores, how the brats today? My grandson is 5. Thanks, Dolores.
We almost ran out of mustard, but we are outside of a grocery store, so someone just went inside and picked up some more. So I think that would be just the bee's knees if we could get that going.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you enjoy bratwurst?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Shannon, you too? Bratwurst?
Oh, yes. I love a good wiener.
Okay.
Have you been waiting to say that the whole time? You've been
Yeah,
like,
I
I've
was
got
I've
a
been
couple of
practicing that. She's like, I
real
hope someone makes a
puns.
dick joke.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like the whole time I was like, as long as I say that line, I'm done. So see you guys later.
Shannon, what company are you with for your web design, or are you just your own shop?
Oh, I
Wow, that's a loaded question. I
Oh my
didn't realize I was
God!
asking.
You
No.
can say like I've got a day job, but I do this.
I have a day job, and I actually don't do a lot of like outside stuff for websites anymore. I'm a product designer is my like what I do now. So I design like for an application, which is super fun. And then the website stuff kind of comes on the side. If something comes up, I still love doing it, like making a website for my dad, like fun stuff. It really has to I'm on a computer all day at work, and I teach women to code sometimes in the evenings. So it's like I don't do a ton of like freelance stuff because I just don't want to be on the computer all the time. But
when we had Scotch on for the first episode, we talked a bit about marketing and working in that world as a creative. And the point was raised that is one of those fields that gets disrupted by technology very frequently. I think of what it used to be a web designer. And now a lot of people have sources like Wix or other things that kind of take out that process, right? For, and for people who might not need like a soup to nuts design, they just need something to throw up quickly. I know that although robots are not designing logos, you've got websites like 99 Designs.
No, there's robots out there now.
Oh, there are now.
Yeah, there's sites out there where you can just type in your name and be like, oh, I kind of like this type of logo, and it'll just build you something out of a database of different illustrations and shit like that.
Okay, so then the question is for both of you, in industries where it gets disrupted by technology and trends, especially when it's a creative position, what do you do to stay afloat and keep with it? And how do you make sure that you don't get replaced by a robot someday?
I think it's all about kind of positioning yourself as you know what the hell you're doing, essentially. Like the people who go and buy these $5 pre-made logos, they're the people who need a $5 pre-made logo. And I'm not saying like, what I offer is the most premium thing out there, but there's a price tag involved with it, and that goes along with keeping the lights on for us and for our family. And the people who buy from me and come to me for my process and my expertise, that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for the $5 logo. They're looking for someone to come in and give them a front-to-back process on why this is going to better them and what's going to be good for their business. So as long as you're making yourself relevant that way and positioning yourself like you actually know what you're doing, having a little bit of elbow grease, it'll keep you afloat.
Okay.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, robots are still robots. And like they don't have we have that creative whatever it is, that creative eye to see things like that, where I don't think the robots will ever get there. When it comes to website design, Wix is great, but if you don't have the creative eye behind it, it's kind of tough to make that extra oomph, or impact with your website because you don't have it. Like Adam has a creative eye. He can build a Wix website and it can look freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that, it's tough.
Sure. Okay. I also think of maybe not being replaced by a robot, but the way people perceive the value of what you do as being diminished because I work in video production and I can't tell you how many times, and my girlfriend is a professional photographer, and I can tell you how many times we've been told by people, it's just, you just point a camera at a thing and you press a button. Like we all have cameras. We can do it now.
Right.
I've got a little cousin who could make me a logo. Why would I pay you to do it?
Right.
Like there's that too, where because of the trends and the technology, it gets harder for some people to make the case that this is why you should pay me. Not that their case is wrong, but it's hard to get someone to believe what you're saying.
Right.
I was replaced by a robot at one of my jobs, and I've talked about it on the podcast before. I used to be a clerk at a video store.
Oh.
Then the red box came.
Yeah.
And so I like to tell people, a robot will never be able to take in what you enjoy and suggest a truly great movie based off your suggestions. So for instance, like Shannon, give me 3 movies that you like.
Super Troopers, Groundhog Day, and what's the other one that I like? What about Bob?
Okay. Uh-huh. So obviously Bill Murray. We got a Bill Murray kick in there.
Yep.
Is Steven Tobolowsky in more than one of those?
No, he's just in Groundhog Day. So judging from your love of mid to late 90s, I'm going to say the movie Captain Ron.
Oh, Captain Ron, I love that movie. We just watched that the other,
Did you?
Yes.
Are you messing with me?
No, I really like Captain Ron.
I think I made her watch it, actually.
And I was like, this
Are you a Captain Ron fan?
Yes.
Is this the most glorious day for you?
So Tucker ends a lot of our arguments with each other well, you like Captain Ron. Because I don't just like Captain Ron a little bit. I like it enough where I actually have it saved on my phone.
No shit.
Yeah, I watch Captain Ron. If I'm on a flight somewhere, it's Captain Ron. That's all I'm gonna watch. So if you go into my home videos, Captain Ron is the only video on my phone. And I've watched it a couple hundred times. I could probably quote the whole movie start to finish if I needed to.
To be fair, the first time I insulted you like that, I was just reaching for a movie title, and it ended up being Captain Ron.
And it's become a whole thing.
Yep.
But seriously, I think that's one thing that we missed in this world today is I spent hours at my local video store as a kid walking and looking at the cover art of VHS cassettes. And that's how I found movies like The Road to Wellville, which is a super messed up movie about John Harvey Kellogg, not the guy who started Kellogg's Corn Flakes, but his brother, who was the guy who invented Corn Flakes, but for the nutritional value, and had a sanitarium that was all about healthy living, but with weird 1920s stuff where they would like slap you in the tummy for 2 hours, and then like that would be a therapy, or laugh therapy. So you just sit with 20 other people going, ha 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 ha. And so
that sounds like singing and not laughing.
Oh, when you do it for an hour and a half straight, it no longer sounds like singing. It is. So if you've never seen The Road to Wellville, it is a weird. Okay, Anthony Hopkins, Dana Carvey, John. Oh man, and it's from Say Anything, John Cusack. Yes, thank you. You got me there with something that was just a joke. But I mean, it goes on and on and on, and it's just. But that's what. The only reason I found that is because a clerk at Take-Two Video pointed it toward me.
Yep.
And so people could use one of those $5 logo things, or buy a crap template that someone took 2 minutes to design, but you're gonna look like all the 1,000 other people who bought that crap template.
Yep.
I had a friend who has a bunch of chickens, and so they wanted to start selling the eggs, and so they needed a logo, and so they went on Fiverr.
Yeah,
I think that's
Fiverr,
one of those
one.
joke websites.
Yep.
Although if you want to advertise with us, Fiverr, we are open to that.
Flashlight.
So, and he said they're like unlimited changes to this logo design. So the first thing he gets back is such a piece of crap that he sends back and goes, you need to start over from the beginning. And they send him the same thing back, but they swapped out a color.
Right.
And eventually he said, they took me for $5.
Yeah.
That's all that happened is I got scammed out of $5 here. And I know they sold my information to 1 million other services because I have been getting some weird emails. And so getting that personal connection on something like web and a logo is interesting. I would like to also touch on teaching coding to girls. That's pretty awesome. And it's been pretty successful in this community too, hasn't it? A lot of people signing up?
Yeah, we've had a lot of graduates throughout the years. So we launched in 2014. And we've probably had around 120 graduates each year through our classes. Which has been pretty cool. We're 18 up, so I know there's a lot of organizations that focus on the younger girls, but we're 18 up, so we kind of focus on women, that want to just add a little bit more to their career, or possibly change careers, or just kind of enhance their current ones.
You've had men take the course too, right?
Yep, men are completely 100% welcome in our classes as well.
Do I have to bosom buddies my way in there and dress and drag?
It's not like that time that you and I went to Pilates at the YMCA.
that was a horrible afternoon.
That's a real story.
I would appreciate it if someone wore a wig, but you don't have to. We're women inclusive, not women exclusive.
Oh man, look at see you talk about branding, like there you go. That's what you got to hit on right there. And Adam, how about you? So we know what Shannon does when she's not doing something creative. What are you doing? Or are you always doing creative stuff?
Yeah, I like to cook a lot too. I spend a lot of time in the kitchen. Honestly, when I'm not designing for work, though, I do a lot of designing just for fun, just for me, just ideas, Other than that, cooking.
If you had a company that reached out, what's your dream company you'd like to design a logo for?
Oh, God.
Like, are you waiting for Marvel to knock on your door and be like, we need a poster?
I've done some work for a few breweries, and that's been a lot of fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's so much in the industry as it is just that right person. Finding someone who appreciates good design and appreciates the process.
And his name like JW Billionaire?
Yeah, and it's got an awesome, a giant bank account, probably loose morals.
See, that would be the person who would call you in the middle of the night, though, and be like, Adam!
Yeah.
Adam, quickly, I need a logo for a shell corporation.
I know that the two of you probably have some pretty awesome nightmare client stories, because those go around in the design world like crazy, and clearly we don't have to say names. Right. But I know there's some pretty good ones out there.
Yeah.
Wasn't there one that you worked on where everyone in the room got to pick a color?
Yeah, were you in? Was that when we were?
I wasn't in that meeting, but you told about it though. It was awesome.
Shit. I think I'd done like a website design for them, and we got to the meeting, and they had four decision makers who were in there, and we essentially went around the table where everyone had their time to tell, their feelings on design. And during this time, they each like picked a color, and they're like, "Well, I think it should be this color." And then I think it should be this color. And then eventually we all decided, those four decided, it's like, well, we're just going to make it those four colors. It's like, let's not pay attention to anything, color theory, anything like that. Let's just make it those four colors. And then the next meeting, I remember I made it with these four terrible, terrible colors. It was like bright green, like a lime green and orange and like red and I think purple. It was something like that. Just doesn't work for shit. And we came back, and I presented this design with these four colors that they picked out. And this one guy goes, "Well, I don't know anything about design, but I know I don't like that." And then, got up and walked away.
Be like, all right, let's get rid of goddamn
I was
purple.
There.
Yeah.
It's funny that we both remember that same story.
Yeah. It's like, if you don't know anything, then shut the hell up. There's been a lot of nightmare ones.
And sometimes it's just the fact of the matter that people don't know that, right?
Right.
I would never tell a plumber how to plumb.
Exactly.
Right. So if I'm going to hire somebody to come in and do that for me, I'm going to trust that they know what they're talking about.
Right.
Here's an old chestnut. Yeah, I've got this thing. I really need a logo for it, but I don't have a budget. Yeah. But this is going to be great exposure for you.
Yep.
This is going to be great exposure for your work.
How much exposure do you need to make it worthwhile monetarily?
Depends on the project. Like, there'll be some that come along, friends especially, where it's like,
dude,
if
you said
let
you'd give me that if I did some things that Shannon won't do for you.
And Tucker, I'm waiting.
Like what? Shovel the driveway and mow the lawn?
I'm still trying to get that reservation at the Radisson, but we'll figure it out.
Oh, if you can't get a reservation at the Radisson, ooh, buddy.
They won't let us bring in circus animals.
Again, this is the Radisson we're talking about, right?
Now, I've always been about working with people's budgets. Like, I don't have a set price on the stuff that I do. It's more or less like what you can afford, what your company does, what your goals are. And then at the same time, kind of like we talked about, like the exposure that I can get, like how can I market this for me? Like if you're going to give me the freedom to go do something that I feel really strongly about, hell yeah, I'll take a discount on that. If you're going to let me be myself, put that in my portfolio, and that helps me out in the end. So
then they can always tell you about the next person.
Exactly.
Like, God, we worked with Wiedman Design, and
right.
They really worked. They worked with us.
Right.
So
and that's the key, working with you. Yep.
I like that a lot. How about you, Shannon? What's your bait? If someone comes and approaches you and like, I got these 55 women and I got to teach them code, and could you come in and do this for free? But don't worry, we'll let you have like a little table, like a little 4x4 table that you can put whatever you'd like on.
Right. Yes. So for me, it's become I'm one of those like people that like always would say yes to things, like whether I was getting paid or not. Like, hey, we really want you to come talk to these middle school students about coding, right? I like want to save the world when it comes to those things. And so I'm like, yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do this, that, the other thing. I think for me, it was like I had to stop doing that and start focusing on like, what's my mission? For Girl Develop It, my mission's 18 and up. So when there's opportunities that come up, I'll do them for the most part. But they have to fill my bucket. Like I have to feel good about them. I'm actually like with side jobs too. It's like, for me, it's more of like, am I making a social impact with what I'm doing? So it's become more of that to me, like for my side work and things, is like, I want to make a social impact, but I'm focused with it. And I used to be more widespread about it, but now I'm just like, what is my main focus and how am I going to feel about doing this job?
I'll edit this out, but JJ, we got about 20 minutes left before the next one.
I saw you look at your clock. I don't think you need to edit that out.
Just let you know. Next interview's coming in at 2:30. All right, let's get these assholes out of here.
Wow. I am gonna throw you out the window.
Mm-hmm. This is the podcast where Tucker gets thrown out the window, and multiple times too. He comes back up, says one thing, gets thrown out the window yet again.
There's 5 here we can break through. So,
have you? What's the most action movie thing that you've ever done in your life that you can remember? While we're talking about being thrown out of a window, like have you ever jumped through a window or been thrown through, a bar, thrown over a bar, or put on a bar and like pushed all the way down?
When I was little, I got sick and I shit the bed, and my dad threatened to throw me out the window, but he never did. I'd say that's the most action movie thing I've ever done.
And now he's into pickling. I can't think of anything in my life that's truly action movie worthy, with the exception of I ran down a guy who broke into my car once.
Oh, I got a guy that you could bring in who did citizen's arrest for one of your
That's what I did.
Yeah.
So let's have a citizen's arrest podcast.
Yep, I got a guy for you.
Do it.
Yeah.
It's a good story.
Nobody starts off with, I got a citizen's arrest story, but it's not a very good story.
Right.
All citizen's arrest
Right.
stories are great,
Right.
and they are epic.
Yeah. Yeah, this was like chased across like 5-6 blocks downtown. There was hiding in dumpsters. I mean, it's good. I won't spoil it.
When you make a citizen's arrest, though, like, do you have to declare that that's what you're doing?
Yeah.
I don't know what the rules behind it are.
From
Like,
this-
and like, can you only detain someone for a certain amount of time or something? Or?
From the stories that I've heard, like, you have to say citizen's arrest when the actual like police show up. Then you have to be like, I'm placing you under citizen's arrest, or otherwise it doesn't count.
Okay,
Right,
So-
because then you're just technically kidnapping somebody.
Right.
got it.
And holding them against their will.
Got it. Okay.
So after I throw you out the window, Tucker, JJ can call the cops, and then Adam can do a citizen's arrest on me because he saw it, and then we can figure out how it all goes down.
That's that works.
Okay.
All right.
See, this is why we don't need robots doing stuff, because robots would never come up with a script like that.
No.
Or suggest that movie to somebody. They would never suggest Shannon throws Tucker out of a window as a possibility. They'd be more like, don't you want to rent the latest Meg Ryan? At least that's...
Hey, I need a logo. You'll get great exposure.
Do you like purple?
Do you guys ever travel outside the country? You enjoy that? You ever go outside the country?
We went to Mexico a couple years ago for a honeymoon.
Do you drink the water?
Bottled.
Good for you.
Yep.
What part of Mexico did you go to?
We were at Riviera Maya.
No, I've never been there.
It's south of Cancun,
Is it safe?
where we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago, though.
Right.
Do people ask that about the United States, do you think? Like, if you're a Spanish tourist and they're saying, oh, I'm going to go visit, Louisville, Kentucky. Is it safe? Is it safe?
Probably. I don't know.
I don't. Why are they coming here? I feel like I don't know a lot
Wow.
of people coming here.
Oh, what are you saying, Shannon? Build the wall? Is that what you're saying, Shannon? Is that what's going on right
Right.
now?
Well,
No, she's saying if you live in a
they want
kick-ass
to build a
country,
wall. Why do they want to come here, right?
if you live in a kick-ass country like Spain, why are you leaving the Spanish countryside to come to Louisville, Kentucky?
Right.
Yeah. That's
Unless you
I didn't realize
baseball
girl
bats.
development was only open to Americans.
I've traveled all over the country, and I've only put myself in a situation that I felt was unsafe once, and it's because I had too much pride to say I don't know how to read the subway map. And I got off in New York City on a street that was like a movie. Like, it was a bad street, right? It's something where you know you're instantly out of place. You know that you stick out like a sore thumb here, and we had to walk like 19 blocks. And at one point we crossed over this bridge, and I turned to the person I was with, Jason Jacobson, who we all know, and I said, might be where we die. I mean, just be ready for it. Like, this might be the moment where we die. And we both held our phones out the whole time, just getting ready to, like, if we needed to dial 911, we did. And what made it the best, what made it so Midwest for us is the first person we encountered jumped out from a parking ramp and was this really old Asian man that looked like he just had jumped out of an 80s, like, Eddie Murphy movie. He had this long, long beard, and he offered us a key. Which we did not take. We both looked at each other and then doubled our speed.
What the hell?
I know. What kind of opportunity did I miss?
yeah.
by not taking that key.
Let me take you on an adventure.
You got to go back.
Here's the problem. I could never find that same neighborhood again. If you told me I'll give you $1 million. So I think maybe it existed only in that moment. And we had just stumbled into mystical world. Ugh.
So like back before everyone had like cell phone, well, not so much cell phones, but like Google Maps, and you could just type it in and be like directions to get you where you're at. You used to print them off. You'd go online to MapQuest and you'd be like, I'm going here. I'm going to print off the directions. Me and some friends, we were going down to the St. Louis area, and we printed off all of our directions, and we're driving down there, and we made one of the wrong turns, and we ended up in East St. Louis. You know that scene in Family Vacation when he goes to East St. Louis? Yeah, I mean it was close to that, but worse.
I love getting lost stories. They're one of my favorite. Here's a great story about Tucker you guys might not have known about. Years ago, he and I won a filmmaking competition called the 48-Hour Film Project, where you had 48 hours to make a movie, and they gave you a character name, an occupation, and a line of dialogue and a prop, and so you had to incorporate these things in. We made a movie called Milk Babies about this alien race of creatures that grew, but you had to pour milk on them. So we buried our friends up to their chests in the dirt and then poured milk all over them. It starred Tucker's grandma, our good friend Matt. It would look like this weird old 50s noir. It was all in black and white. And it was okay at best, but it won the Fargo competition, which means you go on to compete against all the other cities on the globe who did this. And they held the film festival in amazing Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so it took us about 10 minutes after being in Albuquerque to realize we don't like any of the other people who are in this competition because they all wanted to pitch the next project that they had.
Yeah, it was one of those big networking things where you're not really getting anything done, but you feel like you are.
And so we spent our time there doing things like going and seeing the movie Zodiac and enjoying a Brazilian grill.
Yeah.
But one of the things we did was
I thought you were going to say wax.
Oh, if only. It's Albuquerque though, so you can probably get a New Mexican wax, which is different. So one night we went out and
it's you wake up with it. You wake up with it, and you now have a Brazilian.
And your liver's gone. Or is that your kidney? What's the one they take in the bathtub?
Whichever they can sell. Whichever is on the market.
I don't know. I guess once we build the wall, Shannon, they won't be doing that anymore, will they?
But we got hammered, and
because the very last night of it, they threw a party for everyone at a they rented out like a bar, but we were upset about we didn't want to go because we didn't want to hang out with these people, so we went to a different bar first and did tequila shots, like 4 of them.
It's a cool bar that was an old library, and so they kept the books. So you're in this library drinking. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, well, then the whole event was sponsored by the Boston Beer Company. So there's free beer all over the place.
So we drink, and we actually meet a guy who was an extra in the movie Beer Fest, and we were like, hey, that's cool. That's fun.
We made Milk Babies.
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
he said, what?
He's like, which one?
Sorry, what?
Nothing.
Nothing. Let's have a beer.
So we're stumbling back to our hotel, and Tucker decides he needs to throw up. So he leans against this tree, and he proceeds to throw up. And it's a very thin tree. He's not really hiding himself.
This is Saturday night in downtown Albuquerque.
So what Tucker really isn't taking into, but luckily I filmed it, was...
He has it on his phone.
We were right next to a giant restaurant that's all glassed in. So there's like 60 people staring at Tucker, eating their fancy food while he's horking.
Like a lot. And I had eaten a bunch of sweet potato fries. And so it's like sweet potato fries coming out. And there's people, it's a busy downtown, so there's people walking. And
it reminds me of when Rick Moranis in Ghostbusters, like when he goes to that restaurant, he's like, help me. Only instead of seeing Rick Moranis, you see Tucker throwing up.
I've never seen that cell phone footage, by the way.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, and it predates cell phones with cameras on it. I took that with a digital camera on video mode. And the best part is he turns around, I'm like, Tucker, you're throwing up in front of all these people. And he turns around and he gives me the thumbs up.
Oh, cute!
Yeah.
The next day, it was our last day in Albuquerque, and I was like, let's go back to the spot and see if my throw up is still there. So we went back there, and it was still there. It was fully undigested food just sitting at the base of this tree. And then we went. I think that's when we didn't go. We went somewhere else, like a restaurant or something. After that, came back to the hotel, and the area that I had thrown up in was now cordoned off with yellow police tape.
What?
Some sort of thing had happened between us looking at it that morning and when we came back in that same alleyway. So there were like emergency cars and cops everywhere, and I was like, my vomit is in that crime scene right now. Do you think they're going to analyze my stomach contents as like a part of the crime scene?
Yeah, if Tucker ever has to do a swab or something like that, he'll probably pop up in a New Mexican database.
There's probably like a homeless man murder in that alleyway.
Didn't we try and figure out what it was too? Like we followed the newspaper for a couple of days.
Yeah, I can't remember if we
really
figured
found
it out.
what it was.
I
thought you were still talking about the puke. You said it was sweet potatoes.
Yeah. Sweet potato fries.
We already knew what it was.
The Sweet Potato Tequila Massacre of 2000.
Good band
Oh,
name.
when
too.
was that? 2006.
2006.
Was that when it was?
06 was the year of the competition, yeah.
Good
It was that fall.
band name. Sweet Potato Tequila Massacre.
That's an awesome band name.
Yeah, they've been playing at Kirby's. Well, this seems like as good a time as any to say so long. But tell people where they can find you, find your stuff.
Yeah. On the internet, wiedmandesign.co.
How do you spell that?
WIEDMAN design.co.
And I guess Girl Develop at Fargo. If you want to take any classes, go for it. You can search us anywhere, really. Girl Develop at Fargo. Facebook, Twitter, meetups.
And where do we find your dad's pickles?
Oh, Danny'sPickles.com.
I'm surprised that wasn't taken.
I know.
Danny'sPickles.com? Wow.
I even bought Danny'sDills.com just in case he wants to change it up anytime.
And okay, well let's sell some pickles. Let's really get this thing going. Or is he selling them, or is this just a labor of love?
It's a labor of love right now. He's sort of at that point where he just doesn't know if he wants to sell them or if he just wants to start giving them away. Yeah. I know he could.
Does he do that trick where he takes a napkin and unfolds the napkin and then puts it on top? And then you use the lid or the band part of the jar, and you put that on, and then you have this nice decorative.
Oh, cute! Maybe
oh my God, if he's not doing that yet, he's not really getting the most out of his jars.
Right, amateur hour.
Yeah, right.
Is what you're saying. Okay,
I like that.
It's like a cheesecloth or something, or what?
Or just a napkin, like a decorative napkin. Okay. Maybe you've got 4 or 5 left over from a birthday party, and you're gonna give these away as a birthday gift.
Branding.
Yeah.
Come on, it's all your fault, Adam.
Full circle.
Make them some napkins.
Well, Shannon and Adam, thanks for being our guests today.
Thank you. This is fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. For more info, including how you can help us keep the lights on by donating to our Patreon, visit our website. It's simple, www.jjmeetsworld.com. Or you can hit us up on social media. We're on the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram, all the sites the kids are using these days. And if you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you want to check out more about what JJ's doing, go to the website of the Linebenders, www.linebenders.com. And now, I'd like to read to you some names of wind chimes you can buy. Windy Wings Butterfly Wind Chime, Hummingbird Flutter Wind Chime, Pluto Wind Chime, Sun, Moon, and Stars Wind Chime, Jellyfish Glass Wind Chime, Meditation Bells. That's the one. That's what I'm going to buy.